keep trying to encourage me when I do my live videos. Stop trying to look so. I'm gonna take this thing. Take the Wi-Fi off. That feels more. Take the Wi-Fi off so we won't have all these interruptions. But people say when I do my live videos, I shouldn't. Hey, Cap! Okay, now I gotta take my scarf off. I said Tammy can't have chronic. She can have Bonnet Chronicles, but I can't leave my scarf on. What up, Cap? Man, y'all don't know how hard it is to put this thing on my head. I'm not accustomed to all this fake hair on my head. I'm taking it off. I came on this live though to have I guess I want to say a heart to heart with the folk. Oh gosh. Man. I don't know how much long I'm gonna go to bed. I'm in the bed. I'm always in the bed. Well, I'm not always in the bed, but I'm in the bed a lot. What you mean go to bed? It's 5 o'clock. It ain't nighttime. Cap, look, I titled my my video what you call it, where we went wrong. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today. What up? I don't call you Shaquin. What up, Shannon? Shannon, you got kids. You got 2 boys, matter of fact. I'm gonna talk to you too. So I titled this video. Oh shoot. Sorry, I just turned on my cable box and it's doing something over here. So yeah, I got boys. Matter of fact, everybody that's on here right now that I see got boys, right? So I titled the video Where We Went Wrong because I was just having a conversation with someone and the person had asked me what I do, and when I said it, we started talking about the justice system, but then he asked what I wanted to do after I retire, or rather I spoke about what I wanted to do after I retire, which is, I said I wanted to, prior to retiring, get certified to start a therapy, counseling, like practice. So he asked, was I trying to do it to help people who have gotten out or been in jail? And I said that was not the target that I was looking to do. I actually wanted to do more like family and youth. So, because he was saying there's a big gap for people who have been released or gotten out of jail. So I stated, while I understand that and I respect that, at the same time I feel like I want to catch them before they get into jail. Because it's been my experience since I've been on the job. I've come across a lot of people, period. But the young ones are the ones that I remember making an impact on. The adults too, I can't say that. But oftentimes when you listen to, and not even just listen to, because a lot of times they're telling you nothing but lies. Hey, Ona, they're telling you nothing but lies. Hey, Linda, when they get in there. But when you watch and you observe, that's mainly the number one thing that I do. Watch and observe what they're doing. You kind of see that not all of them had to end up on the inside. So I had said that my desire is to speak to the families. What are the everyday tools you will be giving them? You're talking, Shannon, you're talking about when I start the therapy or when I start the counseling practice down the line? Say hi to Bree, my daughter. Hi, Bree. Yes, both. Well, when it comes to tools, I want you to elaborate more on when you say what tools would I be giving them. But one of the things that I'm interested in doing, first and foremost, the foundation would be, of course, in any counseling, is getting to know the foundation of the family. Because you got to see what it is that have the parents, the mothers, the fathers, whomever who's doing the raising, have them the way they are. Because I frequently say that we live life as a reaction. And I say that because most of our practices came from something we've seen, something we've learned and experienced. So sometimes, you know how they say if you knew better, you would do better. Sometimes we do what we do because it's what was taught to us. It's what we came out of. And not to say that what we came out of is wrong, but not always just because it was done to us and we're just fine, or we came out just fine, look at us, doesn't mean that it's going to have the same effect on our children, especially in the day and age that we come in today. While history repeats itself, I think everyone can say that the society we live in today is nothing like what it was when we were growing up. It's not as, there was a little more, I want to say there was a little more togetherness back in the day, growing up, if that makes sense to y'all. First of all, if you look at it, when Shannon, I think you can agree, when we were growing up, the things we did for fun consisted of being with other people and around other people, which back then meant you was around their families too. Hey, Caesar, or AKA Melina. So when back in the day, when we had our friends, when we had people we hung around, back then your mama had to meet them. Excuse my dialect, but either your mother met them or your mother spoke to them. So the things that's going on today is way less different than how it was back then. So that whole "it takes a village to raise a kid," that should not have ever went out the window as far as it has. So I guess I say where we went wrong, because I'm trying to figure out where we dropped the ball. Today we constantly say the kids today, or these kids today ain't like what, hey Aziz, these kids today ain't what they used to be. At the end of the day, though, these kids today are being raised by kids themselves. And I know y'all know that because we got kids having kids. But it all stemmed back somewhere. So that's why I posed the question where we went wrong. And I want to hear from y'all. I'm not just here to talk. I want to hear from y'all where y'all think we went wrong as a whole, as the family unit. Because that's a lot of crack cocaine separated many families. That's an accurate statement for some. Absolutely, that's an accurate statement for some. And Jay Cinnamon, I want to know where you feel we went wrong as a family, as a unit, because you are a mother of big kids too. So where do you think we went wrong? Because you a no play kind of mama, and I already know that. So where do you think we went wrong? Ona, you got kids. If you still on here, where have we went wrong as a society where our kids is falling so far by these waysides these days? Like, I don't understand it. We always said, growing up in a black home, that wouldn't have been that way. But it's a lot of our black kids out here that's falling so far by the wayside. Because I know good and well on the inside, it's more of these black kids I'm seeing in there than the Caucasian. So I'm asking and I'm posing the question. I'm not just going to keep on talking. Y'all ain't going to think I'm going to keep on talking. Matter of fact, listen, if some of y'all want, I can actually, this Facebook Live stuff is different now. You can add people to the conversation. If you want, I can throw somebody into the conversation if y'all want to be heard. Feel free. If I went back to answer Shannon's question as far as the tools that will be provided, not to try to make everything about LCM, but because I am a reflection of LCM, the very thing that LCM was designed to do is to help broken families. And ultimately, if you were to ever look at our bylaws and what it is that we are about, in that era, they did not have many resources as much as they do now to support families, not sites to keep these kids occupied. That's true. We did have recreation centers, because I know I grew up on in the PAL, and as much as I love my pool table sitting in my living room, it came from PAL. I used to play pool all the time. There were more things for the kids. How can we get these things back into the communities? How can we get community, rec rooms? It's crazy. When people go to jail, these people are mandated to have rec hours. But we don't have rec rooms in the communities anymore for the kids. That doesn't even make any sense to me. Hey, Kia. The older community gave more of their skills for free. Now it's all about the money. That's true. That's true. It is about $1. But then that means it takes some people who have a compassionate heart. But it also takes people who have more All right. Families were definitely destroyed, and we used to hold each other down as far as families are concerned. Back then, our neighbors were able to correct us by whipping our ass. But now we're like, nobody better not hit my child or tell my child what to do. We didn't allow our children to see a lot of things. We didn't allow our kids growing up conversation. That's true, right? Everything now come out. What up, Gates? Come out, up. You can, what? Right? Everything now is if you come up. So that's true. That's true. Gates, you just tuning in. We were talking about, as you saw in the caption up top, we said I had written, where did we go wrong? I'm trying to figure, I was just having a conversation earlier about, it being said that, our justice system, so now our children are more grown than they should be. That's true. I remember the classic thing. My mom's, when her company came over, the kids were to get lost. Like at the end of the day, when the company came in the house, you wasn't to be up in their faces. You was in the room with their kids. But then back then, it was also different because like a lot of my mother's friends had kids. So we were in the room with the kids doing kid things. I think, if I may say so, I also feel like a lot of us, we are exposed to a whole world. A lot of us are coming up in single parent homes. And I think that plays a major role. I'm not blaming it all on it, but it does play a major role because now if you have, let's say you got a hard-working single parent who's out there trying to make the buck, a lot of that extra time and energy that your family would, yes, red light, green light, double dutch. I was never able to jump double dutch. I was always double-handed, so they didn't even want me turning rope. Now this technology is taking over. That's true. I know my son comes home and he's constantly on his phone. Even in the car, he'll put his headset on, and I have to get on him about that in reference to when you're around folk, engage in activity, engage in conversation. If we're about to go out as a family, you are not about to be on your phone. But those things aren't enforced a lot. Not enough male elementary teachers, more professors. Really? You think, Shannon, that if we had more male teachers that would help? Yes, single homes has a lot to do with these things also. This is true. Like when, for instance, Cap, you know what it is that we do. Kids sheltered due to so many crimes. We're keeping our kids sheltered. Can we say that we keeping them sheltered though, Ona? Because we might try to keep them sheltered, but the TV exposes them to the very things that we try to keep them from. When they go out into the society, they're exposed to the very kind of things that we keep them from. That's right. Kids are not allowed to be kids these days. Half the time, if you working super hard, then your oldest kid is probably doing some of the things that you would have did. I would have did growing up. But I grew up like that too. Look at me. And I came out just fine. For our sons, we need mentors. That's true. That is so true. And but see, the thing that makes it hard, physical teaching, I see the difference in my opinion. Okay, I get what you're saying. More men teachers to be able to teach the young men a male's aspect on things. I get that, Shannon. And as far as mentors for our boys, having 2 boys, I definitely agree with you on that, Ona. Because, man, having to just hear your mother's opinion is not always a good thing. Not to mention, as parents, y'all already know your kids should listen to it from you probably second before they hear it from somebody else, others constantly saying it. So I get it. The problem is though, where are we really getting these mentors from these days? Half the time the young men that are out there, it's not like it was back in the day. Back in the day, even if they was out on a corner doing their thing, they was trying to keep the little ones from being on the corner. We don't have that no more. Now they want to grab your kids right into it. Hey, Miss Hayes, that ain't nothing. We're pointing out a lot of the things that went wrong, Ms. Hayes. You just joining us. We had where we went wrong is the topic of conversation. Speaking of TV, is absolutely crazy. We had so many kids shows, Care Bears. I loved Punky Brewster. Yes, the Jetsons. Nowadays, if you watch some of the stuff these kids is watching on TV, they got so many adult punts in it that you're like, what the fudge is my child watching on television? SpongeBob. All of them. Hi, baby. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you so much, Miss Hayes. I have my days right and recruit them for the gangs. Yes, this is true. Miss Hayes, we're talking about where we went wrong as a whole, as a unit, not just, cartoons even have cursing. That's true. That's true. Where we went wrong as a whole. Why are our kids ending up falling by the wayside in the streets, Miss Hayes? This is what we're talking about. So we're speaking about the family and where things have changed in society. Earlier, Jay Cinnamon had mentioned, back in the day, your neighbors can check your kids. True. True. I definitely believe people in prison go outside more than our children, and they pretty much have unlimited freedom. Well, Shannon, I won't say they have unlimited freedom, but they damn sure are getting to do more than they should, considering what they in there for most of the time. So I agree with you on that. Hey, Chris. Another thing that we can say, we had a conversation not that long ago in reference to why is it so rampant. Matter of fact, I did a live video last year sometime. Why is it so rampant today that suicide is so high in our children? What up, William? Suicide is so high in our children. I think that's another area in which we went wrong as well. Effortless, fun things used to do, have fun over, work extra hard to keep our children occupied. Let me ask y'all a question, right? Because I know there's some things that I had stated that I wanted to implement within the family structure. What do y'all think about the idea of when y'all are home, like when everyone, not just the kids, when y'all come home, y'all put y'all devices down. Like, everybody's not in a computer, everybody's not in a phone, everybody's not on some form of technology. Y'all, like, put y'all devices down and really engage in activities amongst the family. What do y'all think about that? And I say that because I feel like, as we stated earlier, technology plays a big role. We didn't have phones like we have now growing up. If you did have a phone, your phone wasn't doing nothing but making a cotton picking phone call and a text message. And that's if you had phones. True, growing up, we didn't have cell phones in my household. My mama might have had it. I don't even remember my mother having a cell phone now that I think about it. I'm not saying she didn't, but damn, it's hard to even think about having it. I remember when calling your family or your parents had to do with a damn payphone. Or you better be by that phone when your mom's made that daily call from her job to make sure your butt was in the house. We can really take back some of this stuff. I think if we, as parents, ladies, because I have a lot of ladies on here, as parents, if we try to take things back to the way it used to be, which I think, where, hey, Lisa Cooper, how you doing? Again, for those who just chimed in, the caption says what it says, where we went wrong. So we're actually having a discussion of where we went wrong as a people, as a unit. Hey, Critical, as a unit, both in the family structure and just as a community, where we're having a lot of our young ones fall by the wayside, i.e. young ones ended up in jail, ended up in gangs. Hey, Sherry, ended up child suicide, which is one of the things that I mentioned last. Like, things are not the way in which it was. Some of the things that were mentioned earlier, if y'all scrolled back in the comments, were we had more things in the community for the kids to do, i.e. the PAL, community rooms, and things of that nature. Single parents in playing a role in the children falling by the wayside, because you got one unit in the house where they're doing all the work, so it kind of makes it hard. Mothers, I'm not exempting fathers when I say this in any shape, form, or fashion, because I am aware there are single fathers out there, but mothers get stretched so thin with that whole single parent, single mother aspect of things, because you're going out there being the breadwinner and, making sure that the kids have, but then you have people like Jay Cinnamon up there, then you coming home from, if you work in your double or your straight or whatever, and you coming home and now you got to cook for the kids, and you got to make sure that they have everything that they need as far as regular daily food, taking care of themselves, grooming, schooling, all that good stuff. That's a lot for one person to have to do. So I'm this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking something in my head. I want to say I'm feeling something in my spirit, right? So I had a conversation. I've actually had this conversation several times with different women. Mainly, most of the time, it's women. I tell my kids as much as I can remind them. Graduate high school. You still have to re-educate yourself. Yes, that's a good point. We forever to be learning. One of the things that I'm constantly telling when I have conversations with, especially young women, but women, period. I had the luxury, and while at the time I might not have saw it as a luxury, and after going through it, I didn't see it as a luxury, but I have a life lesson that I'm able to take on, and you would think that it would have taught me a lot further. That being getting married at an early age. Some people who don't know me don't know that I've actually been married before. My oldest son's father, he and I were married, and I learned a lot from that relationship. You think I automatically took them lessons out the door? No, but I learned it over time as sitting back. The conversation, I'm not drifting. It is a point of where we went wrong still. We don't get to know people before we decide to have children with them. I believe that's another thing that I would say contributed to us going wrong. Because when you think about it, if you're not really getting to know somebody, and then you decide that you're going to create, Shannon's going crazy over there, and then you decide that you're going to have a child with this person, that is a life. So you have a lifetime commitment. You've created a life, and that life is going to create life, and lives will be affected. So another place that I definitely would say that we went wrong is the getting to know someone before you decide to make a life-changing decision with that person. I can see some of y'all agree with that statement based on the comments that are going forth. Listen, again, I offered earlier, I can invite any of y'all into this conversation so that it's not just my voice being heard, but I'm really appreciating y'all comments as well. As y'all are, children put some strain on relationships. Children put some strain on relationships. I respect that statement. Children put strain on relationships. I respect that statement, but I counter it. And I counter it to say that while children can put a strain on a relationship, imagine if we already know that children put a strain on a relationship. Now you have a child on a relationship that was strained before that child ever came along. Let's say, now everybody might not agree with the whole aspect of y'all should be married before you have kids. And I get it. I'm not pushing it. I'm not enforcing it. I'm not saying that it should be. But I will say I get the concept of being married before you have kids, because it's a solid, say that again, it's a solid foundation, but it's a solid foundation if you built it on a solid foundation, if that makes sense. I'm not talking about the ones that just get married to say that they got married. I'm not talking about two broken or two unstable people that have gotten married. When you have a person who got to know themselves, two people, excuse me, let's take that back. We're doing couples. If you have two people, each of them got to know themselves, got to know the ins and outs about them, and then became a unit, got to know one another and decided that together as a team, we definitely can do more, and then become a unit and solidify that with a marriage. Marriage is not just a piece of paper at the end of the day. I don't care what anyone say. I still see marriage as a decree that you make with God. And to me, while we might not agree with everything the Bible says, the foundation that's being taught within the Bible, love, that foundation, if everything is built on that foundation, then I do believe that marriage, if built on that structure and that foundation, can produce healthier kids. That's my input on that, as far as the marriage aspect goes. But also getting to know yourself is another great thing that I feel like got lost. Anything that I say out my mouth is definitely from something that I might have experienced and or witnessed. I remember coming home from work. We are not the same from 18 to 23 to 34 to 41 and 50. You're right. We're not. But Can you imagine not knowing yourself at 18, having kids, not knowing yourself at 23? Now you got to get to know a kid and raise a kid, get to learn how to do it, then turn 34. You still trying to get to know you, but that fell by the wayside because now you got to focus your energy on that kid. Like, when we put more on our plate than we're mentally, psychologically ready for, that also plays a role.
Hi, babe. Who you talking to?
Right, exactly. I remember, unfortunately, a lot of women, babe, I'm live. A lot of women sad to say, excuse me, think of having children about someone keeps them. That's true. Nothing keeps someone and doesn't. You're right. Absolutely, Miss Hayes. I agree with you 110%. When it comes to that, I was saying earlier, I remember coming home from work one day. That was back when my youngest son was born. And I had one of my sisters babysitting. I walked in the door. Out of nowhere started a conversation. Not, hey, how you doing? I walked in the door and I was like, you know what makes no sense? I was never the type of person to ask to borrow someone's kids. You know that, oh, let me take your kids and give you a break. Oh, let me babysit for you. I was never that type of person. I wasn't even the person that loved to hang around kids. I become a kid when I get around kids. So what the hell made me go and have 2 kids of my own and having to raise them by my damn self? Now, don't get me wrong. My oldest son's father, I will never take from his father. I don't raise my oldest son by myself because my oldest son's father is very involved in his life, as is his wife. So I'm a single mother. Well, no, I have mine now too. So while I was a single mother, I did not have to raise him alone. So I thank God for that. But as I stated earlier, getting to know yourself. I did not get to know myself before I had children. And there are a lot of young women and men who are having children, who are reproducing, and they don't even know who they are. We know that already because there should be nobody in their teenage years having kids. There is no way on God's green earth as a teenager you know who the hell you are to be able to teach someone else how to be who they are. Shannon and Miss Hayes. Well, I don't want to just... I want to thank everybody that's been in here so far. We had Ona in here. We had Jay Cinnamon in here. Gates was in here. Kia was in here. Miss Hayes, you guys are awesome. Any more input y'all want to put in? Because y'all know this is a conversation that can go on forever. We know that, especially with as lost and as broken as this world is. Anything else y'all want to add? We don't know that we need to get to know ourselves when that part of our brain to tell you that it's not developed. I think what contributes to that today, and what you're saying, Shannon, what contributes to that today, I would say, is the technology that we have, i.e., allowing our kids to come home and still be up in a video game, to still be up in their phones, to still be, just within themselves. So we're not getting to know a family structure, if that makes sense. So that's what I would say we're doing today that still contributes to that downfall of things. Y'all agree? Yay? Nay? I don't know. I just turned it on and that's what it looked like. Can you reboot it? I was trying to put some music on in the background, but I couldn't. Parents need to know how the system is set up and inform our children so that they do not get caught up. Parents need to know how to... So, well, I know one thing. Being someone who's on the inside, working on the other side, and coming across the different personalities and the things and the structure that I have to see, I definitely pour that into my boys. I remember my oldest son's father looking at me like I was crazy because I was talking to him about the system when he was sitting in a high chair. He wasn't even 3 years old yet. I don't think no age is too young to enlighten, especially in the day that we're living in today, to enlighten your kids on the society that they're coming up in. Alright. I don't know how long I've been on this video. Agree. I don't know how long I've been on this video. Oh, only you still there? I found today's topic interesting. I will tune in for more topics. We need to have conversations to relate with one another. Absolutely, I appreciate that, Ona. It's actually encouragement to keep getting on. And Ona, if you want, next time, as I've been saying throughout this video, at any time, any of you guys that are watching or ladies that are watching, I can always hit that little addition button where your voice can be heard too, and it's not just reading conversations. But I'll start to close this video out by summarizing what we spoke about today, which was where did we go wrong. So I would say that thus far we all agree that in society, as a unit from the family starting, we've went wrong. Where people, one, our kids don't have what we had growing up, i.e. community centers, PAL, and things of that nature. Also, technology being their number one thing, as opposed to coming home as a family and spending time together, getting to know each other as a family. And also, as Jay Cinnamon mentioned earlier, we used to take that village to raise a kid, where you let, your neighbors can say something to your kids. Nowadays, we like, oh, nobody better they put their hands on our kids, kind of thing. This is true. Those are all things that has contributed to where our kids are today, where society has went wrong thus far. And these are things that I'm going to take to the Lord in prayer. And I'm hoping that you ladies and gentlemen, whoever tuned in, continue to tune in, continue to give us topics to talk about, because this is actually cool. It kind of reminds me of, town hall meetings, just through social media. Talk to you guys later. Be safe out there. Love y'all.